Good morning, students. We'll continue with the 11th standard economics, chapter 8, Indian economy before and after independence. In that, next topic is that small scale industry, SSI. So here small scale industry is about 60 to 70% of total innovation, that is a new launching of any missions or any technology in India comes from this is the SSI only, small scale industry only. Many big industry today who are the Tata Industries or Birla Industries, Tata Reliance, everything started once it was as a small scale industry only. Now we'll go for the role of SSI in economic development. In that first one is provide employment opportunity. So in the small scale industry, it uses a labor intensive technique. That means user friendly techniques only it will use. So many people will learn the technique so easily. So because of that, it provides employment opportunity to the large number of population. And also it provides employment opportunity to the artisans, professionals, people engaged in the traditional work, hard work for them, and all job opportunity will be created. Bring balanced regional development. SSI promote a decentralized development. That means a large scale industry is there. For them, they need a spare parts, small spare parts they need. It means that work can be divided and given to the small sectors. For example, a car company is there. For that company, they need a bolt, net, and also they need a seat covers, belt, and all they need. Means that work can be decentralized and given to the small sectors. This SSI can be set up near the big manufacturing companies because to meet the requirement of that big industry. So most of the SSI can be set up in the rural area because they will remove the disparities and in the backward areas, and also it bring a balanced regional development, equal development to the all areas. So and also it reduce the problem of conjunction in the sense allergies, because that industry will set up in the outside the city means, so it will make us to reduce the allergies and also reduce the slums in the city areas, and also it helps us to improve the standard of living of our people both in the rural and the urban areas. Next we'll go for the help in mobilization of local resources. That is in the sense it make us to increase the small saving in the rural areas. Because of that, the small owners they started to become the business owners or business organizers. If they did not do that means their talent will be idle. Their talent will be unutilized. It will be there. So they give this SSI only give a good platform for the traditional family skills and handicrafts. They give improve self-employment in their society, rural area, and also it gives a job opportunity to the many people in the rural area. Next we'll go for the pay for the optimization of capital. It means it requires a less capital to start the small scale. That means it requires less investment to start the small scale industry. If they get a loan from the bank means because they have a small amount, with the using of small amount only they can use the business. This is a small scale industry. So that amount can be repaid quickly. Otherwise it can be payback period is very short. So the loan can be given easily by the bankers. Next we'll go for the promote the exports. Here promote the exports in the sense it does not require any big sophisticated mission that should be imported from the foreign countries. It needs only local mission, manufactured mission, because of that it reduces our country to the balance of payment, exchange our country's money with currency with the other countries currency. That pressure of that balancing exchange of money can be reduced. But our SSI is earn more foreign exchange through our exports. it can be export many handicrafts to the foreign countries. So because of that only it earn more of a profit. Next, complement large scale industries. It provide, as I said, it provide parts, spare parts, components, accessories to the large scale industry. So because of that, this SSI can be set up near the large scale industry, because to meet the requirement of a large scale industries. Then meet the consumer demands. Next we'll go for the meet the consumer demands. It provide and serve the anti-inflammatory force. That means whatever we need, day-to-day need, whatever it is needed, they will manufacture. That means in the locality people, what they need, they know that according to that they will start producing. So it will provide and serve the goods, whatever it's needed daily, day-to-day activity, what and all needed, they will start producing. Develop entrepreneurship. So here, according to the SSI, they help the job seekers to become the job giver, because they will become the business owners. And also they promote the self-employment and the spirit of self-reliance in the society. Whatever they needed, day-to-day activity, what and all they needed, they'll start producing themselves. That's what the self-reliance in the society. And also this SSI will increase the per capita income of a country and also increase the national income of a country. Next topic is micro, small and medium enterprises. This can be categorized into two: manufacturing enterprises and service enterprises. In that manufacturing enterprises, first one is a micro. Here in the micro manufacturing industries, the investment in plant and machinery can be they should not exceed from 25 lakhs. Next, small manufacturing enterprises, it will start from the 5 lakh, but it should not exceed 5 crores. Next, medium manufacturing enterprises, it will start from the 5 crores, but it should not exceed 10 crores. Next, service enterprises. In that plant and the equipment, including plant and equipment, it should not, first one is micro, it should not exceed 10 lakhs. Small service enterprises, it can start with a 10 lakh, but it should not exceed 2 crores. Then medium and service enterprises, here the plant and machinery can be equipment, along with the equipment it can be more than the 2 crores, but it should not exceed 5 crores. Next, public sector and private sector banks. Here the public sector banks, a government will hold the major of a portions of a shares, that is a 58 to 60% of a shares will be held by the government only. For example, SBI, that is State Bank of India, its shares of 58 to 60% of shares is held by the government only. And also PNB, Punjab Nationalized Bank, that in that bank also 58.87% of shares is held by the government only. So most of the more than 50% of shares will be held by the government. That bank only is a public sector banks. Next, private sector. Here in the private sectors, most of the shares will be owned by the private people, private individual, institute, corporates, and this bank will be controlled and managed by the private managers or private promoters will be there. In India, the public sectors will be, most of the public sector in a percentage wise, 72.9% of a banks will be public sectors. To be say in the how many banks in the, according to that means 27 public sector banks are there, 22 private sector banks are there in India. Here RBI has given the license to the payment bank and also for the small finance banks. SFB, expand SFB means a small finance bank. So as a result, the RBI gave the license to the payment banks. As a result, the Airtel and the pay time has come up. in the market, but we cannot find how much it will be helpful for the poor people. Next, we will go for the nationalization of bank. Government has decided to nationalize the banks. Major banks or nationalized commercial banks has to be nationalized. So this major nationalized banks are nationalized in the year 1969, 19th July. In that period, 14 commercial banks were nationalized. After that, 1980, 6 more banks were nationalized. Next topic is that objectives of nationalization bank. This topic will come for the 5 marks. 5 points we have to be explained. First one is to attain the welfare such as agriculture and small and village industries. For it has to be expand, and also they have to be developed. For that it needed a fund. For that the government has nationalized a bank. And the second point is that curb all the private monopolies, because the smooth flow of a credit should be given to the needy people, those who want to start a small business. For them it has to be given without any interpret. They have to be get the credit means the bank has to be nationalized. And the third point is that 70% of people in India were in the rural areas. So it is very must needed to encourage the banking habit in the rural people. And the fourth point is that to reduce the imbalance in the where the banking facility is not there. In the rural area, many rural area in India, there is no bank. To facilitate the banking facility in that area, the nationalization of a bank is a must, so that it can create a branch in that rural area. Next, the fifth point is that after nationalization of banks, new branches were opened in both in the urban area and also rural areas. Next point is that the sixth point is that the bank create a credit facility to the agriculture and agro-based. That means the industry, mainly for the agriculture purpose only, they will give a credit facilities. And also the agro-based, that means the industry which is mostly depend upon the agriculture activities to produce the manure, to produce the fertilizer, that and all. If they manufacturing means, for that industry the credit facility has been given. Of India's 5-year plan. First 5-year plan was in the year 1951 to 1956. This plan was based on a Harrod-Domar model. That means all the savings goes to the productive investment, that is IS. Savings go to the investment product, IS. And the productive investment will goes to the capital. That means whatever we are saving, that should be go into the investment. After the investment in any business, that investment should get the capital, that is the profit should be there. So this plan was mainly focused on the agriculture, and this plan was successful and achieved a GDP growth of 3.6% and the target achieved more than 3.6%. Next we'll go for the second 5-year plan in the year 1956 to 1961. This plan was based on the P.C. Mohalanobi's model. That means shift into industrial investment to the domestic consumption sector. That means whatever day-to-day activities, what and all we needed, the goods, what and all we needed, we have to produce ourselves. That is what the domestic consumption goods sector, that should be produced. This plan was successful and it has achieved the growth and the target of 4.1, more than the target they achieved, that is 4.1% they achieved it. Third 5-year plan in the year 1961 to 1966, this plan is also called as a Gadgil Yojana. That this target was to make a independent economy and also reach the self-parables position. That means the without the external agencies, without the help of other country, we have to produce ourselves whatever we needed for the day-to-day activity, the product what is needed, that should be produced ourselves only, without the help of other country, without the help of the other agencies. But this plan, this 5-year plan was not successful because of the Indo-China war. This plan was not achieved properly. The growth of 5.6% was target fix it. But this 5-year plan was not successful. So here, because of that, it was a failure plan. So the plan holiday was started formulating in the 1966 to 1969. Because this also was stopped because of the Indo-Pakistan war and also failure of a third 5-year plan. But the annual plan was yearly, that is annual plan means yearly plan was made it, and gave equal priority to the agriculture and also agriculture allied, that means the industry which is depend mostly on the agriculture, and also the industrial sector. All the three sectors they given the more important in this plan holiday. Next we'll go for the fourth 5-year plan. In the year, it was started in the year 1969 to 1974. Here, according to the fourth 5-year plan, the main plan was given a goal was to achieve the self-reliance. That means fulfill the needs, whatever we have, it is that should be manufactured by ourselves. This plan was failed because the target was fixed at 5.7%, but achieved only 3.3%. The fourth 5-year plan was a failure plan. Next, we will go for the fifth 5-year plan. It was in the year 1974 and 1979 in the year. This plan was given a more important, top important was given to the agriculture and also industry and also the mines. Agriculture, industry and mines. For three sectors they given a most important. The plan was successful. The target was a 4.4%, but they achieved a 4.8, that is more than the target they achieved. This plan was modulated or prepared by DP Dor. So because they achieved the more than the target, the plan was terminated 1 year before only. That is the plan, the 5-year plan is 1974 to 1979. Because they achieved more than the target, it was terminated in the year 1978. This plan was terminated. So for that 1 year, 78 to 79, one more plan was a rolling plan for the one annual was drafted. Sixth 5-year plan, it is in the year 1980 to 1985. The main aim of this plan is to eradicate the poverty and also to develop the technological self-reliance, and with the motto of Garibi Hato based on the investment Yojana. The target was 5.2 and they achieved more than the target, 5.7. That is this plan was a successful plan. Next we will go for the 7th 5-year plan in the year 1985 to 1990. The main aim of this plan, this 5-year plan, is to establish a self-sufficient economy, and also they have to create a job opportunity, employment opportunity to all the people. And it has a growth rate of 5%, and they achieved more than the target, that means 6% they achieved. Next is the annual plan. 2 years annual plan they have drafted and they formed it because there was abnormal situation in the political situation in the central. So they formed or they utilized the 2 annual plans. That is 1990 to 91 one plan, annual plan, yearly plan, and 91 to 92 one more annual plan has set up. After that, they started the 5-year plan. That is the 8th 5-year plan. That is in the year 1992 to 1997. The main aim of this 8th 5-year plan is to develop the human resources. That is to give up employment job opportunities, health, education, and also public health should be improved. And also they have a successful in this plan. The target was 5.6% and they achieved more than that, 5.8% they achieved. That means this plan was successful plan. Next we'll go for the 9th 5-year plan. It is in the year 1997 to 2002. The main aim of this plan was, and they given the main focus on this plan is to growth for the justice and equality. Equality given to the rich and the poor, and for all the sectors they have to give equal rights and justice should be given. and the target is 7%, but they achieved only 5.6. They did not reach the target level. Next, we'll go for the 10th 5-year plan. It is in the year 2002 to 2007. According to this plan, they wanted to have double the per capita income of their Indian citizens next 5 years. So, according to this plan, they have to reduce the poverty rate. That means a 15% they have to reduce this. That means within the year 2012, they have to reduce the poverty percentage. That means 15% they have to reduce this. According to this plan, the target was 8%, but they achieved only the 7.2% only. Next, we will go for the 11th 5-year plan, that is year 2007 to 2012. According to this plan is that a faster and more inclusive growth. That means we have to achieve our growth faster. Not based on the long term and all, it should not be there. Firstly, we have to achieve our goals, and the target was 8.1%, and we achieved only 7.9%. Then we'll go for the 12th 5-year plan. Last is a 12th 5-year plan, that is 2012 to 2017. According to this plan is the faster growth with the sustainable growth. That means maintain that growth. We are growing in field means that whatever growth we achieve, that should be maintained. We should not come down. That should be maintained and kept it. So to be concluded, so what all this plan, what they gave the ideas, they gave a guideline to the government, that is they use the resources or utilize the resources, whichever the resources carries shortage resources there means that resources should be used without waste, and they have to get a maximum benefit, and they have to be gained from that shortage resources. So all this 5-year plan was adopted, and the concept is based on this plan is from Russia, and Russia, they follow this 5-year plan. From there only we are adopting, the concept what we are doing is from that Russian 5 years plan only. Next we'll go for Human Development Index, that is HDI. This was published, this Human Index was published by United Nations Development Program. That means UNDP, expand, one word they will expand. UNDP means United Nations Development Program. It was launched in the year 1990. So according to this, it helped all the government to achieve the real upliftment of a standard of living of a people. That means their citizens, their country's citizens, increase the standard of living of their own country's people. So according to this HDI, it was developed by two economics, that is Mohib ul Haq and Amartya Sen. He was Mohib ul Haq is the Pakistani economics. The Amartya Sen is our Indian economics. Both has published this in the United Nations Development Program, in that they published based on the life expectancy index and education index, GDP, that is gross domestic product per capita index. Based on that, they gave 3 indicators. First one is a longevity measured by life expectancy at birth. That means how long the people can live. It can live more than 100 years or less than 100 years. How long the people can live healthily. And the second point is that education attainment. That means quality education should be there both for the female and the male. And next is the standard of living of people. And this standard of living of people is based on GDP. That means a gross domestic product, and also PPP. That means purchasing power party. Purchasing power party in the sense, for example, we can say a person who is living in America, he can purchase a car easily. But the person who is living in the middle class people who are living in India is cannot able to purchase a car so easily. So according to the report of UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program 2016, they have a report Among the 188 countries, India ranked 131st rank in the HDI. That means we have a medium of human development. So according to this, your top 3 countries for this HDI. First one is Norway, second is Australia, and the third is Switzerland. So all these are about the HDI. Next we'll go for the PQLI, Physical Quality of Life Index. Physical Quality of Life Index. This was developed by Maurice D. Maurice, economist. So according to him, he gave a measure to calculate the quality of life and also for the well-being of a country. He gave 3 indicators on based of the 3 indicators. First one is life expectancy. That means how many years a people or a human can live healthy. And second one is the infant mortality rate. And also third one is the life literacy rate. It means literacy rate means the education should be equal. Education should be given equally to the male and the female. It should be there. And gave ranges from 1 to 100. That is ranking from 1 to 100 he gave. So 1 represent the worst and the 100 represent the best. So how it, for example, means life expectancy upper limit is 100. If a person can live more than 100 or 100 years means that is the best. This was achieved by 77 years by Sweden in the year, according to the report of the year 1973. And the lower limit is 1. This was achieved by the 28 years. It was achieved by the country called Guinea-Bissau. That is a tropical country in the West Africa. It is there in the year 1963, according to the report. So to be concluded, this one HDI, that is Human Development Index, HDI, and the PQLI. So to be concluded, this one HDI indicates both physical, financial attribute development, both physical and financial. But PQLI indicates only the physical aspect of a life. So up to here we will end the lesson 8. Thank you.